I just came across the most accurate mock draft site in the world. Sounds like some sort of Dos Saggies commercial.
He is the most interesting man in the world.
I don't do mock drafts, but when I do, I prefer Walter football. What's cool and what's going on, baby? Let's go. We got the most accurate mock draft in the world right here today. I don't even need to do mock drafts anymore. Nah, I'm sure. Look, I get it. It is what it is, and I'm sure they've got a reputation over the years of doing some good stuff. So I want to take a look at some things and got to shake it up right with a little mock the mock action today. We're gonna grade each pick and talk about it. What did they do wrong with this? Right? The Miami Dolphins picking the number 1 overall. Remember, these draft orders are all gonna be fun. That's what makes it interesting, too, because you're gonna see like major draft orders with every different mock drafter out there at this time of the year. It is the most interesting time of the year, I'll put it that way. On to the Dolphins, though, going to Johnny Football, Johnny Mateer from Oklahoma, the OU Boomer Sooner, who formerly came over from Washington State. Love John Mateer. Is he worth the number 1 overall pick at the moment? I would say no, as much as I am a huge John Mateer fan, and I definitely think that he is in the conversation for a first-round pick. I would love John Mateer to go to a team that he can sit for ideally a season, because he is really the ultimate developmental quarterback. He has got some traits, but he also has some traits that you don't like and some tendencies you don't like that he needs to iron out. Still, his accuracy and his decision-making, he's got to get better in those departments. Getting some of those sore spots out of his game is going to be the big key, whether he becomes Patrick Mahomes 2.0 or he becomes Johnny Football. And I know that's more of a work ethic sort of thing. And John Mateer, everything that I've read up on, this guy's a tough-nosed guy, hard-nosed worker and everything like that. Oh, he even compares him to Baker Mayfield. It's Charlie Campbell who's doing this mock draft. By the way, I didn't even mention his name. I got to mention the mock drafter's name. I'm sorry, Charlie. He's Charlie in the Chocolate Factory over here producing some good mock drafts. And with this one, though, the Miami Dolphins, would they actually take a quarterback? If you're picking number 1 overall, no doubt. Like, you're taking a quarterback, then at this point, it's clearly the Tua Tagovailoa. As much as I like Tua, it would be over. I think the defense, though, is more of their problems at the moment. They can't stop a fly from getting through the horses. They have no chance, and I don't think that's a phrase, but I think we're just going to make that up as we go. And with this, though, John Mateer at number 1 overall, I guess a trade down would make the most amount of sense. There's no trades in this one, but if you're picking number 1 overall, I could definitely see him going quarterback. Lenore Sellers, who took a blow to the head this past week versus Vanderbilt. It sucks. And after that, South Carolina looked like nothing. So that's a credit to Lenore Sellers. Now impactful he is as a football player for that South Carolina Gamecocks football team. He did make one errant throw that he didn't really read the defense. He had a guy open on a little more of a deeper post, and he kind of threw that short underneath shallow and ended up not reading the eyes, or the defensive lineman read his eyes and got that interception. But overall, he had a good game besides that one throw, and then got the injury, and that team, like I said, went down the drain. Lenore Sellers, the ultimate upside prospect. If he can get it's not just decision making. I wouldn't even call it decision making. I think he's a good decision maker. I think his problem is processing. He gets stuck on one read too often on one side of the football field. For him, it's going to be able to understand and read concepts out there. That's the biggest challenge with Lenore Sellers right now. You don't have to sell me on any of the traits with Lenore. The guy has all the oozing talent to be the next elite quarterback. So if you feel confident in your developmental cycle here and that Lenore is going to take that leap, then absolutely, he has the tools you can take in the top 5, and I feel good about. And when the New Orleans Saints, you pick a number 2, you're going to have that conversation. I want to see how Tyler Shuck looks at some point this year. I will be mocking the quarterback to them as well. I mean, I'll be lying if I wouldn't say I do that. I do think that it's just a little hard, though, at the moment without seeing Shuck. And Rattler's not been playing bad, but you got to also think he is, like 0-8, 0-9 as a starter right now. And unfortunately, that does suck. It's not easy when you're evaluating things like that. On to the Clemson Tigers, but we are taking a Tiger here. The Tennessee Titans are taking TJ Parker. The Titans have a poor defense. I mean, he keeps it pretty sweet to the point. I don't disagree. Their defense needs some help, but I wouldn't call it poor. I would say that they have an okay to maybe below average defense, not a poor defense. Like, poor defense to me is like Miami Dolphins level. The Titans do need a pass rush. This one makes a lot of sense. Besides Jeffrey Simmons and Devondre Sweat, they could really use some more help on that defense line. Jeffrey Simmons was a beast this past week. Week 1 especially was so good in that game. I do think, though, that going edge rusher, I'd go Ruben Bain. This is just a different player that I would go with. I do agree with the position. I don't mind them going Jordan Tyson either. I think that you got to look at the defensive line, though, as a big need for this football team. It's just clearly they're not getting enough pass rush, and off the edge especially. Carolina, they go Keldrick Folk. They go with the pass rusher. The Panthers have severe issues generating pressure on the quarterback. They need help at defensive tackle and at the edge rush position. Folk is going to be another one of these tools prospects. I'm surprised. Maybe just, not quite as high on Ruben Bain at the moment. And this is updated too. This was just came out like 13, 14 hours ago. So this is updated. With that being said, I don't know. Keldrick Folk is a good football player. And I don't want to argue with that. I just would take Ruben Bain at the moment. I feel like the Folk is a guy that will be a very good run defender day one and can develop into a good pass rusher over time as he continues to develop and everything like that. But they need more pass rush. Like, that's the argument in this whole thing. Like, go with Ruben Bain. He is the most impactful pass rusher right now in college football, I feel like. Then we go on to the JETS, and it's Garrett Nussmeier. I am going to say this one is a C plus for me. I like Nussmeier. I do. I still like some of the other quarterbacks in this class a little bit more. For me personally, I even like guys like Darian Mensah more. I like dudes like John Mateer, who's already gone off the board. Lenore Sellers. I like, let's see, who else is in this class that I think I would take? Carson Beck I would take over Nussmeier at the moment. Nussmeier to me is more of a day two guy that I think would be like a Kirk Cousins selection for me. And Kirk Cousins, if you go back into history and say, where would Kirk Cousins go? He ended up going the first round. But ultimately, I could get down with it at the same time. We do possibly need a quarterback, Justin Fields. If he keeps playing like he did versus Buffalo, then we're going to have to draft a quarterback. Like, that's just what it's going to happen. I'm really hoping that he does develop and gets better as the season goes along. Like, I'm rooting for Justin. Really am. It's just, it gets tough. It really is. It's with the Jets. Who knows what's going to happen? And then we go on. I almost say I thought he was comparing him to Jaden Daniels first. I'm like, what? I had to do a double check. I'm like, Garrett Nussmeier is not Jaden Daniels. I'll tell you that right now. But that would be, he does not quite have that level of athleticism. On to the Bengals. Peter Woods, DT Clemson for the Bengals. I feel like that's something that a lot of like mock drafting, that's like a little bit of a lazy argument. They go defensive tackle over this past couple of years. They've invested in it, and they've invested quite heavily in the defensive tackle position. While, of course, if you go and find a top tier stud at the D tackle position, if Jalen Carter comes across your board and you're like, yeah, we can't pass up on this guy, then sure, absolutely, because you still use some more passers clearly on that interior. They're not getting after the quarterback enough there, but your hope is some of this young talent gets going and they can build with that. And I also think that they need more help possibly at the back end of the secondary. And even though Daxton Hill had a great week this past one, and Turner's been okay, they could probably upgrade there. I think offensive line, though, is still the biggest need for this Bengals team. Like, you can't protect Joe Burrow and nothing else matters. I feel like for that football team, clearly it's a huge problem. The G-Men go with Damani Jackson. The Broshmo, as I like to call him, the Broshmo has him. I just saw his mock draft. I was watching his the other day. He had Damani Jackson as the number one corner. Interested. I'm going to have to really do some more study on Jackson. I've watched him last year. I've seen a little bit of him this year. Nothing crazy. I know he's been really, really good in terms of a stats metric and everything like that. From the concerns last year for me, I felt like he got lost in coverage last year. And that's why I'm not as high on Damani Jackson at the moment. But once again, I got to go back and I know he's a really good athlete. Like that, I don't deny. When I saw him, I'm like, yeah, this guy has recovery speed. He's got the athletic burst you want. Like, he's got all the tools, the size. Yeah, all those traits are there with Damani Jackson. And the Giants, their secondary is still not as good as maybe you'd want, especially for what they've invested in it. So I could see them upgrading here. And you clearly, going back to the Cowboys this past week, they couldn't stop a whole ton out there. I think that adding to the secondary is not a bad idea. Cordell Flott actually had an up and down game. He had some good plays. He also got beat a couple of times. Overall, I thought Flott had a pretty decent game. You got a Debo in there, and then you're still waiting, on Banks and stuff and how he comes along. I could see him going corner. I think offensive line is definitely a spot here too, but it's definitely something different. Like we all put offensive tackle for this football team. Could they go with the corner? Absolutely. They still could invest in the secondary a little bit more. I think linebacker could be a sneaky need for them too this offseason, just depending on how Okereke plays this year. Browns, they go Spencer Fanu, offensive tackle. Could end up moving inside a guard for them and being their long-term either Wyatt Teller or Joe Antonio type of replacement. Either which way are options. They could use a tackle. They could use a guard. I'm just saying take the best offensive lineman for the Browns. If you're not going to take a quarterback, then yeah, I definitely would think that the offensive line would be the next top priority for this football team. They could even look at corner, depending on Greg Newsome and how he goes along in this season. So far, he's actually played really well and could end up earning a really nice contract this season. New England Patriots, Xavier Chaplin from Auburn. Okay, I've watched him at Virginia Tech. He's a guy with amazing upside if he can continue to develop. I've not watched him this year thus far at Auburn, and I'm very curious to see how he's developed so far. So I'm going to have to take a look at the tape. I actually plan on doing a video of Xavier Chaplin very soon. I want to get through that film and get something up on him because I do think he's got a lot of upside to be a very, very top tier left tackle. Like all the traits are there. For New England, in this case scenario, he would be your long-term right tackle, or you move Will Campbell over to right tackle. One of the two, which would my guess would be you move Chaplin over to right tackle. And that would be fine. Like, I think they definitely do that as long as you feel confident in moving guys over. That's the only thing with Chaplin is like, do you feel confident as he can play right tackle, left tackle interchangeably? Those are things some guys can do, some guys can't. I feel like the dudes that are really athletic are able to do that a little bit easier. So that's something where Xavier Chaplin's a good athlete. He does, have some sort of limiting with some agility and things like that. Anyway, we go on to Jeremiah Love, not the quarterback out here, but the Dallas Cowboys. Running back to me is not their biggest need. Will Jerry Jones finally select a running back? Yeah, I think he will, but maybe not in the first round. Maybe not even until day 3, possibly. I could see day 2 being an option for this football team. Javonte Williams has been really, really good this season, and I'm sure you fantasy owners are loving it right now with Javonte. And he looks kind of like prime Javonte Williams out there. Good offensive line that's able to run block, and that's a strength of the football team, too, is their run blocking ability. Love would be a really good pick and still like adding a top tier running back. I still have Jonah Coleman as my number 1 running back. That's just me personally. But most people, competent scouts and all those say Jeremiah Love's the top guy. And I respect that. I think Love is a good player. I don't doubt that. I still like Nick the Quick a lot too. But Jonah Coleman, got a soft spot in the heart for him. I just think it's a little bit. If you go with him with their second first rounder, I guess I could get on board with that. I'd like to take more of a second round running back. I don't know if there's a first round running back in this class right now at the moment. Next year, what's his name from Louisville? Brown, that guy. Isaac Brown, that dude looks legit. Oh, baby, that guy is insane. I am a huge fan of him. He is crazy. On to the Steelers, though. Caleb Downs falls to the Steelers. BPA, I have no problem with this at all. You can't really fault this pick because he's one of the best players in the draft. I could see this happening, though, in terms of like where Caleb Downs goes. It's very hard to say. I know you're going to see him top 5 or at least top 10 in mock drafts. At the same time, safeties don't really go high in the draft. It's just like running back. You have to be an elite prospect to go really, really high. And Caleb Downs is in that tier of elite prospect. So will he go top 5? It's definitely a question mark. But right now, who knows, right? And for the Steelers, this is just a BPA pick. Yeah, they've got some other needs on the roster. Like wide receiver, to me, sticks out as a clear-cut need for this football team. But do they have to force anything? Absolutely not. Caleb Downs, if he's available, you're taking him, and I don't have a problem with that. That's an A-plus pick, an A-plus overall strategy. Browns going Mateo Uiagalelei here, so they went offense and defensive lines with these first 2 picks. McGuire's been really good. They still do need to add some depth to that defensive line. That's the big thing I will say. Is it a first-round type of need? I would say at the moment, no. Myles Garrett's locked up under contract now. And for me, I would either say you go double-dip offensive line. You could look at quarterback here, depending on how Dylan Gabriel looks through this season, or Shedeur Sanders if he gets an opportunity. Those are all things we need to see. And that's why I'm okay with them not going quarterback. I totally understand that. I'll give this pick a solid like B minus. I think Mateo is a good football player, but Ruben Bain is still on the board. Clearly, there's some sort of disconnect out here, right? There's got to be a disconnect because why is Ruben Bain still on the board right now? I cannot really get by that. If Ruben Bain was available and you select him here with this pick, that's an A-plus movement. I have no problem with that. That's a BPA selection for the Cleveland Browns. I just can't. I'm a Ducks fan. I love Uiagalelei. That guy can play. I'm telling you right now. He's a football player. That's just a little bit, I don't know. It's with available players and stuff like that. Mansour Delane, I do like Mansour Delane quite a bit. He's improved significantly this year. He looks a lot better. I still would take Jamal McCoy. I think he's a top-tier corner. He's a top 10 pick. I think Keith Aberney is another guy to watch out for. I like Will Lee a lot. But Mansour Delane, definitely a player that has risen up this season and has looked really, really good. And the Raiders have secondary issues. They need to improve it. It's a big weakness for them. So adding in a number one corner is an absolute priority, I think, this offseason for Pete Carroll. And he knows a thing or two about good secondaries. On to the Cardinals. This pick, though, I would give it a B plus. Right position. I would just go with a little bit of a different player personally. And Delane's a good player as well, though. Here's the thing. Cardinals, you're just continuing to stack the secondary. I like Max Melton, and I want to continue to see how he plays this year. You got Will Johnson, who I have noticed me playing really good. Garrett Williams, I saw him get injured in the game. I'm not sure how serious it is, though. We'll have to I got to look that up here in a little bit and see exactly what's going on. He got a hit to the knee in the end zone, so hopefully everything's okay with Garrett Williams there. However, if there is some long-term ramifications, or if Melton doesn't quite work out, if you want to get McCoy, you pair him up with Johnson on the outside, those two guys, like that wouldn't affect Garrett Williams because he plays in the slot anyway. That would be an insane corner duo. I do think offense is going to be more of the precedent this offseason for the Cardinals because they've invested so much in the defense. And I know I'm not saying don't invest more in the defense. And if the best player available on the board is a defensive player, then you do it. And in this case scenario, I'm going to give this a solid A. I really like Jamal McCoy. He is a top 10 player in the draft, maybe even a top 5 player in this draft class. So that's why I think that's an A pick. Seattle, Anthony Hill Jr., the linebacker from Texas. I like Anthony Hill. I still would lean offensive line here for them. I'm going to give this one a solid C sort of range, mid-tier, because I do like Anthony Hill. He would add another element to this linebacking room. I don't know if it's their biggest need with Spites and Jones. They should be in a solid fitting right there, so that's why I just don't know if it's the biggest sort of need that they could go after at the moment. It could be a McDonald's sort of thing, adding some more speed in here with Anthony Hill. Can be an all-around football player for them. I just feel like there's some other positions. I would even think about corner here. I would think over a linebacker. I would think about more, defensive line talent, even though I think defensive line is pretty good for them. But hey, you could always add another edge rusher. I would really be looking at offensive line here still as one of the top needs. Even another wide receiver possibly over a linebacker at this point. Jordan Tyson is still available. Let's go on to the Miami Dolphins here. And Amari Jackson. Let's go. Amari Jackson from Boston College is one of my favorite underrated players in the draft. He suffered a tough injury last year, and he's back this year. I've not watched him so far this year, but I went and watched him last year in the preseason, and he was a dude that I came away with, and I'm like, yeah, this guy could be a first-round prospect very, very soon with time. That potential is there. He's got elite athletic traits that I really like with him. The dude is a monster athlete. I think he's still a little raw with some of his eyes and awareness, and that's why I want to see him how he looks this year. The traits, though, with Amari Jackson, he is a top-tier athlete with oozing potential to be a man coverage lockdown guy. Jackson, though, at the moment, this is probably a little bit high, and a lot of fans are going to be like, what? Amari Jackson? Who's Amari Jackson? He is a good football player. So I respect this. I really do, because he's going out on a limb on this one. I really do like Amari Jackson. It's the right position. It's just right now it's a little bit hard. So I'm going to give this one like a B- or a C+. It's just a little early for me to tell on Amari Jackson how he looks. I need to go through that. Oh, we got another safety and a field goal. Okay, I don't read, but if I did read, maybe I'd read something like this. It's pretty bad. You kids out there, read. Trust me, it's a good idea. On to the New Orleans Saints, and with this one, New Orleans Saints. Wait, I thought they already picked. I guess they're back on the clock. Well, duh! I just found out I'm in the second round. I gotta go to round number 2 over here. That was a little bit of an over the head moment right there. Don't tell anybody I did that. All right, but please keep that to us right now here. Vikings, skull. They go Javon Kilgore. This is another guy this is one dude I have not watched I don't think at all. I mean, I've watched South Carolina's defense, so probably inadvertently I've watched him. However, I have not studied this guy, so I have no idea. He's a dude I'm going to have to go watch. South Carolina, they produce some of these freaky athletes. They always seem to have tremendous size and tremendous athleticism through the years. You got the McQuamas. Most recently, it's like now you got Nicky Manwaris. Now you got Javon Kilgore. It might be the next running of this. So we'll see how it works. And they do use these type of players and stuff. So he could be the next Josh Martellus, even though I think he is under contract now. So I'm not worried about finding a replacement there. they could use some more secondary help in general. So I'm okay with that. And that's something this team could really look at. Very interesting. Javon Kilgore. You have to let me know if you guys have watched him at all. I have not watched him at all. But that I'll give it like a C plus because I have not watched him thus far. I still take Keith Abney if you're looking at a corner. Jordan Tyson, available for the Rams. Why do you let this happen? Unbelievable. Jordan Tyson. I sound like I'm talking like a Disney character. Why? Jordan Tyson is a great football player. And while I don't know if right now if he truly is a top 10 prospect, if you look through the years, maybe with just this draft class in general, he's being pushed up a little bit. The Rams, why not just continue to invest in the receiving position? They've had injuries at the receiving position through the years, and Jordan Tyson would just be another beast. I don't see it as a big need for this football team. I think they have 2 first rounders, so I have no problem with the fact that they're just taking BPA, and you can always figure some things out. So I'm going to give this one a solid B+. There's still some good football players like Keith Abney available that I think they could really use a corner there. I think they could look at more like offensive line, like right tackle could be something. Francis Mauigoa is still available on the board. He would be a guy that I would throw in and be an easy selection for this football team to replace Rob Havenstein. That's my only pushback. I think I would go with, to make this an A+ move, I'd go Francis Mauigoa at this point. On to the Houston Texans, Caden Proctor. I can't fault the fact them going offensive line. I can fault them on the player that they are picking, though. And they also spelled Caden Proctor wrong, unfortunately. And that's okay. I'm notorious for spelling things wrong, too, so I'm not going to hate on that. Proctor's a guy that is going to get the whole label of Alabama offensive lineman, and it's a little bit unfortunate that Evan Neal, and you go through past prospects, Alex Leatherwood, et cetera, et cetera. Proctor's a different player. He is a really athletic big man, and he's a little more nimble than what you would expect for a guy who is 360 plus pounds. So that's why, for me personally, like I don't have a problem with Caden Proctor in that sense. My problem with him is technical issues. His hand technique is horrendous, and he just can't latch on. His grip strength right now is not good enough for a guy. Like when he does get latched on, it's over, right? And I saw him pull out a two-handed block, or he used both his hands and blocked 2 guys at once to allow Jalen Milroe to complete a pass last year, to get a pass off. Like, it was incredible. It was one of the best blocks I have seen from an offensive tackle in quite a minute. He has that level of upside. The traits with him are insane. And as a 7'4", his lateral agility is better than what you would expect a guy for his size. He just is a developmental prospect when it comes to his leverage. He seems to always be the high man. His anchor, because of that, gets tested. While he is super strong and he has an immense anchor, it's like his leverage is so bad that he gets pushed back into the pocket consistently. In his hand technique, he does not know how to refit and to get blockers off of him. He's constantly the last person to get into the chest battle, and he loses his chest too often. So those are things he really needs to work on. I've not watched him this year thus far, so that is going to be a thing I'll have to continue to watch out for Proctor there. On to the Indianapolis Colts here. Keon Saab, okay, safety from Alabama. He was a guy that was hyped up last year quite a bit. I would still take Dylan Thieneman over him, or even a Kamari Ramsey. Saab's a solid player. I've not seen him this year for the Crimson Tide, so that's something I'll have to kind of take a look and see how he's been playing. Maybe he's been playing really lights out, but for me, he's more of a round 3, round 4 type of guy at the moment with some good, solid athleticism. Not an elite athlete or anything like that, but he does seem to be a solid prospect that if he could continue to get better with his awareness, overall coverage instincts, then sure. But he can be a good run defender too early on for this football team. I just don't think it's that big of a need. Nick Cross has played well. Cameron Bynum's played well. If anything, maybe add another corner here. Xavier Howard's getting older now, so possibly that corner position could be something that they could address. Overall, though, maybe linebacker would be the area I'd be looking. Like C.J. Allen would be a great add for this team next to Jair Franklin. I think right tackle, Francis Mauigoa is still available. So I'd go with like a C-, D+ on this one. I just don't really love this pick at all. I guess. I mean, I don't know. Either which way. Buccaneers, David Bailey. I love this one, okay? Add some more juice into the fire. Maybe they say, we saw those Atlanta Falcons. We see what they're doing out here, adding James Pierce Jr., Jalen Walker. We're going to do the same dang thing. We're going to go ahead and David Bailey from Texas Tech, who's one of the best, most athletic, freakish guys in this draft class. When you talk about the bend, you talk about the speed. He's got that, all right. And they may take a little quick off the table there from those Atlanta Falcons, those dirty birds. They're trying to get dirty themselves, Todd Bowles. who blitzes all night. Clearly, at the end of that game, he was like, "Hey, we're going for it, man. I'm not letting CJ Stroud. We're just gonna attack this offensive line." I love it. I love the way that game ended. It was such a fun game. It was my number one game of the week. I'll tell you that right now. I love it. San Francisco. Grade wise, I give this one a solid B plus. Absolutely. I think Ruben Bain's still available. I don't even know if they. I don't know what's going on here. Man, did I miss him? I don't know what's going on. What the heck? Isaiah World. The world is in our hands. Not in my hands, but it's in all our hands. And Isaiah World is going to be the left tackle of the future, maybe. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the way I'd look at it here. They could definitely invest in a left tackle. I have no problem with this one. Trent Williams is 37 years old now. So at some point, it's going to catch up, and they definitely could look at that future. And if Trent Williams retires, this would be a slam dunk pick for them. Still like Francis Mauigoa, but if you want more of a true left tackle, Isaiah World would make a lot of sense here. I'll give this one a solid B. Can't fault them for investing in the O-line. Nick the Quick Singleton. I love Nick Singleton. He's a great football player. And as I said before, I actually like Nick Singleton more than Jeremiah Love. I'm in the little anatomy here. I think Singleton is a phenomenal player. I think he's a really good receiving back. I think he's a great. I got something on my fingers here. Hold on, what the? I'm like, what is this? I thought I was bleeding for a second. I'm like, oh, what's going on here? Did I hit my hands too hard? But I was just going so passionately over Nick the Quick that I can't even shuffling up over here. But Nick Singleton, I think, is an excellent overall 3-down workhorse with his linear burst, his explosiveness, small little crease, boom, he's off. But the Denver Broncos, they got RJ Harvey. So I don't know. It's the only thing here. I love the player. I don't know if I think it's a first round need for the Denver Broncos at this point. That's why I'm going to give this one a C. I just think it's, I go with other areas, right? Maybe Caleb Banks, who's available on the board, would be a great John Franklin Myers replacement on that defensive line. Or maybe they had another linebacker. CJ Allen's available. Or, go pair him along with Dre Greenlaw. You could look at maybe adding another weapon into the offense, tight end, right? So Kenyon Sadiq would be a good long-term tight end number one for them. That's kind of that's for me if you're looking for a B to A area range. Yes, Drew Shelton. Sorry, I'm going a little too loud on you. I better mute myself. Like, oh, you hurt my ears, G-Sling. Drew Shelton, though, Penn State offensive lineman. I like this guy a lot. I think he's got shocking quick hands, and he knows how to use his hands. He's the exact opposite of Caden Proctor. Like, I watched those guys very close together, and Shelton and Lomu, those guys, speaking of Lomu, he's still available too. Like, oh, I don't know what the heck's going on here. But Shelton, very good prospect. I like this pick here for the Lions because I do think he could play guard or tackle for them. Early on, he'd play guard, and then long term, he could be their left tackle or right tackle, depending on, if they move Penei Sewell over to left tackle after Decker ends up, retiring or whatever down the point. That still should be a long time away, hopefully. But they need to improve the interior. That is definitely a need for them. I think center, like Connor Lew, would be a little bit more of a sense, though, in terms of just like a day. Like, I'd feel confident because I know, like, Lew, center, day one starter for them, can fill right in for Graham Glasgow, and that would make sense. Shelton, good football player. I would just probably go Lew. So I give this one a solid, like, B. Just would go with, like, Connor Lew here for an A+. Rams, Ernest Green III. I have watched Ernest Green. Not watched him this year just yet. But he is a guy that I know has some tremendous size. Don't love the athleticism to stick at tackle. And for the Rams, it's an interesting one. I would still go Francis Mauigoa. Like, I can't believe he's still available. Like, come on. Like, I don't get that one. Green is more of a day 2, early day 3 type of prospect. Maybe even a later day 3 prospect, depending on how he looks this season. Just lost too many times last year, and I think his balance is a bit of a problem too. So he could move over to right tackle and be a long-term replacement there. I lock in Francis Mauigoa. Come on. I give this one like a D+. Good pick, good positional pick, wrong player. Commanders, Caleb Banks, A+. A+, no problem with this one at all. You get younger, you get better on that interior defensive line. I love Caleb Banks. He's my number 1 D tackle. I have him over Peter Woods. I found out that he's younger. Like, I thought he was like 24, 25. For some reason, I saw something out there, maybe like on Wikipedia. Maybe, Wikipedia is not always the most trusted source. I love Wikipedia, but you got to be careful. And I saw it looked like he was like born in 2000. I'm like, really? Banks is like 24, 25 years old? Crap. Well, then I lowered him on my board to number 2 over behind Peter Woods. Now that I know he's only 22 right now, it would be 23 come his first season. Absolutely. I love Caleb Banks. He's the most problematic defensive lineman in college football. Boom. That's an easy pick for me for the Commanders. Get more pass rush, whether it's interior defensive line or edge rush. I have no problem with that one. Payne's been good this year. You know how it goes. He goes into a big point. Yeah, Here's Ruben Bain. I feel like this person's got to be a Chiefs fan. I see it. I see it, Campbell. You must be a Chiefs fan. You've got to be kidding me. Like, I can't. What? What? Come on now. Come on, man. This is crazy. Ruben Bain to the Chiefs. This is an A+ move. I mean, no doubt about it. Maybe Ruben Bain puts on a gas mask or something before the NFL draft, or does something wild. Maybe he, I don't even want to speculate out there, but there would have to be something, right? He'd have to pull out the Bane costume and go crazy on some people to drop this far. I feel like. Well, for the Chiefs, you just found yourself an absolute stud. A+. Okay, you got Jalen Gabule. I can't pronounce his name. Some sort of French name. I've not watched him clearly. Okay, so my apologies. This is why I love doing these mock to mock, because you find players. Their secondary, it looks great. I don't think this is really a big need for them. I don't know. I don't think this is something they need to address right now in the first round. I'd rather go defensive line. You look at another DT, another edge rusher, especially Khalil Mack. If he's done for the year, he's a free agent after the season. Maybe they bring him back. He wants to come back on a, hey, I'm ready to come back and prove it, get them things going. I'm staying in LA. I really could see that. I wouldn't be shocked if he comes back. I think the odds are in the favor of that at the moment. However, you just don't know. And they could still add some more youth into that defensive line in general, whether it's interior or off the edge. I would go with one of those pass rushers who's still available, that they can go out and help out this room a little bit. And there's plenty of guys that I think are still really good on the board right now that they can go after, like an LT Overton, or if you want more of a speedy guy, or Mason Thomas, a Gabe Akers. Those are just some guys to mention. I'm sure there's some other dudes I have to take a look at, see who's still available. That would be really, really nice options for this football team. And that's no knock on Jalen Galaboo or whatever. Like I said, pardon me on the name. I've actually heard some good things about this guy. I'm not a huge fan of Muhammad that much. Malik Muhammad. Muhammad Ali, I'm a big fan of. But anyway, Eagles, we go on to Blake Miller, the tackle from Clemson. I don't love this one. I really don't. I'm not very high on Blake Miller. He was a guy last year, just I was lower on. I haven't quite seen it. I feel like he's a waist bender too often, gets off balance, and he just really doesn't have the mirroring skills, even though he is a good athlete and everything. I don't think he has enough play strength and enough technique to really hang out there. Could he develop with Stoutland University? Absolutely. I'm never going to discount Stoutland. If he sees something with Blake Miller, then absolutely. Lane Johnson, I don't know if he's going to retire anytime soon. He's still playing at an elite level. So, yeah, good on Lane, man. I don't know. We'll see what happens there. Maybe they view Cameron Williams as long-term right tackle. There's a lot of possibilities for this football team right now. I would lean towards either, depending on what happens at the tight end position, you could look at Kenyon Sadiq here, who's a great football player. I think you could look at Francis Mauigoa. If you want to go right tackle, then he's still available somehow, some way. And then maybe he's got some other second team he's waiting to put him, second favorite team to give it a team to. But I would also consider adding another edge rusher here as well. I think LT Overton would be my A+ pick. So I'm going to give this one like a C to a C, somewhere in the C range. At least, it's investing in the future there. We're going to see Francis Mauigoa here in a minute. Maybe Dallas Cowboys are his second favorite team. Buffalo Bills, though, going Denzel Boston, wide receiver from Washington. Boston's really good. Yeah, Boston's a good football player. The only problem is he's kind of a little bit like a Keon Coleman. So I think it's a little redundant of skill set. I'd rather go with like a Mekhi Lemon here. I have Lemon a little higher, too, than Boston. Like, Lemon's just making the argument for a wide receiver 1 out there. There's going to be some people who have Lemon as wide receiver 1, and I don't hate that. I think Lemon's a great receiver. And if you want to put it on a little salmon out there, a little lemon and salmon, boom, you're bada bing, bada boom. I think that's a really good idea. So I would just lean, if you're going to look at a receiver, someone like that, I think the skill sets would make sense with what they currently have. Or even another speed threat in the offense to replace like a Curtis Samuel, maybe an Eric Singleton. I would, though, rather go offensive line here. Keep that a strength. David Edwards of being a free agent. I'd invest in that position. I would invest in a safety here, too. One of those, like Dylan Thieneman, a Chase Bisontes, Francis Mauigoa, move him into guard. I'd have no problem with that one. But I'd give this one like a C+ or something like that. Good football player, just wrong maybe position, player fit, whatever. Mauigoa, A+ for the Cowboys. I have no issues with this because Terrence Steele still struggles in pass pro. Good run blocker and everything. Mauigoa would give them an upgrade in pass pro and would be A+ pick. I think it's a value that you can't pass up on. I'm just telling you right now. It's not their biggest need, I guess. Like they've got some other needs, but I still think there's a pretty big need is improving on the offensive line at tackle specifically. Their interior looks great, but that could be something to. Oh, Amari Farrell, Indiana Hoosier, let's go. You know me with Hoosiers. Okay, I'm a Hoosier grad. I love this one. Farrell, first round pick. Might be a little bit high, but I have to really study the tape from Farrell. That is, I'm not actually really dove into the tape. I watched some, the Hoosiers. I'm always supporting them and everything like that. Farrell's a good football player. I'll tell you that. First round, those are going to be some interesting conversations. What's his speed going to be like? All those sort of things. I do think he's got great ball skills, though. The ball skills are there with Farrell. So, hey, I don't know, man. This is not a comedy pick. This ain't no Will Ferrell type of thing or anything like that, but that is interesting. I love it. This is why I love doing it, man. Oh, man, that's crazy. Wow. So that's going to end with this banger. I can always respect people for going out on a limb and putting their guys where they're at. And as I said before, this is updated. This is where it's at. So either which way, for Baltimore, I'm going to give this pick, because it's a Hoosier, there's going to be a little bit of bias. I'm going to give it like a C. Could they continue to improve the secondary? Absolutely. I don't know if it's their biggest need at the moment. I think that they could look at either a more defensive line. I think offensive line, on guard specifically, could be something. Tight end could possibly be something, depending on who, if they sign Likely or Andrews. It's likely that they sign one of the two. Maybe tight end, though, with a Sadiq still on the board would make a lot of sense. So there's a lot of options that they could go after here. But Amari Farrell, whoa, that's a banger to finish it up. Woo, that's a stand up and clap sort of moment or something like that. I love it. But that's gonna do it here for the most accurate mock draft in the world. Let me know what you think. Agree or disagree? Was this the most accurate mock draft in the world?
Stay thirsty, my friends.